with Attorney Patrick Cafferty by Zoom without objection.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Hello, sir. All right, well, then the court is going to make a finding that good cause exists to hold this hearing via the Zoom application. Again, based upon the coronavirus pandemic, previous orders entered by the Supreme Court for the state of Wisconsin and the Kenosha County Circuit Court, further barring any objection raised by counsel for the defense or defendants, the matter will be continuing. Now, I do have a matter of the criminal complaint. Mr. Cafferty, on behalf of Mr. Blake, have you received a copy?
Yes, Your Honor. We've both received a copy. We have both reviewed it. We will waive reading, and we're prepared to waive a preliminary hearing at this point.
I understand that as well, but acknowledge receipt of the criminal complaint at this point. We'll move to preliminary hearing in just a minute. I do need to set bond, though. So at first, Mr. Wiedenfeld, as to bond.
Your Honor, the state recognizes these are serious charges, but also that the defendant has serious injuries and he's recovering at the hospital. I have also consulted with the victim in this matter. The state's not opposed to a $10,000 signature bond. I would ask that the $500 cash that's already been posted on the warrant be applied as a cash condition of the bond. I would ask for additional conditions of no violent contact with the person referenced in the complaint with the initials LNB or her children. Also, no contact with her residence. I would ask for additional conditions that the defendant not possess any weapons and that he not leave the state of Wisconsin for any purpose other than for medical treatment.
All righty, thank you very much. Mr. Cafferty?
Your Honor, I can tell you that he does not have a prior criminal record, no convictions either in the state of Wisconsin or any other state to my knowledge. He is a resident of Kenosha. He was employed as a painter. He will obviously meet his responsibilities to the court. He has hired counsel and has made arrangements for this appearance. So given all of that, I do think that a signature bond is warranted. We don't object to the no violent contact order being put in place. And we do concur with the condition that he should be allowed to leave state for the purpose of seeking medical treatment.
All right, and no other objections to what the state has requested as to conditions of bond as well?
No, sir.
Sure. In terms of the, well, okay. All right, great, thanks. All right, thank you. Well, court has reviewed this complaint, understands these are allegations at this juncture. They're serious, but nonetheless, court believes a signature bond is in order here. And court's going to impose a $10,000 signature bond. And this is for Mr. Blake. Then Mr. Blake, good afternoon again, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I have some, I'm in the process of setting bond at this point, sir, and I wanted to let you know what the, first it's a $10,000 signature bond, but I want you to know the non-monetary conditions of bond as well so that you're aware of those, all right?
Okay.
Are you able to hear me clearly today, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, now, Mr. Blake, the non-monetary conditions are you're to have no violent contact with an individual with the initials and date of birth LNB, date of birth 1/26/92. That also involves the children of LNB. That you may not possess any weapons, sir, and you may not leave the state of Wisconsin unless you're going to seek or obtain medical treatment. And I see that there's $500 cash that's been posted. I'll also order that that's retained as a cash component of the signature bond, and that further, you must make appearances in court when required, sir, and not commit further crimes, obviously, while out on bond. You understand all of those conditions, Mr. Blake?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Now, there's the matter of the preliminary hearing. And again, I do have before me a waiver of right to preliminary hearing and also an information. So we may move to preliminary hearing. But I wanted to ask in terms of if there's been any type of offer. Again, I doubt that there has, but I wanted to ask you, Mr. Wiedenfeld, is the waiver at this point, and I'll ask Mr. Cafferty as well, based upon the anticipation of future discussions to be held between the prosecution and Mr. Cafferty, or has there been an actual offer tendered?
I can advise that I have not made any offers to defense counsel. I did take over as special prosecutor, but I don't believe any offers were made prior to my taking over the case.
All right,
That is
thank you. Yeah, Mr. Cafferty.
correct, Your Honor. No offers have been made by any prosecutor at this point.
All right, so the waiver then is for future further negotiations to be conducted, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Blake, I have some, I'm sorry, here we are back and forth, sorry about that. But Mr. Cafferty, have you had enough time, at least at this point, to discuss the status of this case with Mr. Blake in regards to the waiver of the preliminary hearing?
Yes, Your Honor. I reviewed the waiver with him twice now, and I'm confident he is fully prepared.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry to the camera person, could you direct it to Mr. Blake? All right, thank you. Mr. Blake, again, this is the Commissioner. I assume you can still hear me clearly, is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, great. Now, I have some questions for you today. It's my understanding that you have not received any plea offer, if you will, from the state in regards to the waiver of the preliminary hearing today, that instead it's anticipated that your attorney, Mr. Cafferty, will conduct future negotiations with the state at this point or sometime in the future. Is that your understanding as well of the status of your case, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, have you had enough time to discuss with your attorney, Mr. Cafferty, at this point, the status of this case?
Yes.
And did he answer to your satisfaction, sir, any and all questions that you might have had regarding your case status?
Yes, sir.
Also, Mr. Blake, have you had enough time to discuss, Mr. Cafferty, the waiver of the preliminary hearing and the impact that will have on your case?
Yes, sir.
And once again, did Mr. Cafferty answer any and all questions that you might have had, Mr. Blake, in regarding the waiver of the preliminary hearing and its impact on your case?
Correct, sir.
All right. Now, you understand, Mr. Blake, that you did have the right to have the preliminary hearing held if you'd wanted the hearing to be held.
Yes, sir.
But you also have the right to waive the preliminary hearing, and that's what I understand you wish to do today. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you understand that a preliminary hearing is not a trial. Instead, it's one step in your case proceedings?
Yes, sir.
All right. But when you do waive your right to the preliminary hearing, sir, please understand that that's a permanent waiver, which means that once the hearing's been waived, you may not come back before this court or any other court seeking to have another preliminary hearing. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
But Mr. Blake, even though you're waiving your right to the preliminary hearing this afternoon, sir, please also understand that you still have a right to have a trial in your case if you wish to have a trial. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, also today, when you do waive your right to the preliminary hearing, this court is going to bind your case over for further case proceedings after making findings that probable cause exists that a felony was committed and further probable cause exists to believe that you committed that felony. The case will then be bound over before the Circuit Court of Kenosha County for further proceedings. Do you understand that as well?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand everything I've just explained to you, questioned you about, or discussed with you so far?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
Do you have any questions for me, Mr. Blake?
Not at the moment. No, I don't.
All right. Well, if you have a question for me, you make sure you ask it. Don't feel like you can't ask me a question. All right. Okay. All right. Just a few more questions then, Mr. Blake. Now, again, at this point, there's been no offer or some type of incentive given to you that I'm not aware of. Is that correct?
Yes, correct, sir.
All right. Did anyone threaten, force, or coerce you, sir, to get you waive your right to the preliminary hearing?
No, sir.
All right. Now, I also have a document here that's entitled Waiver of Right to Preliminary Hearing. And Mr. Cafferty has signed it. And he, a minute ago on the record, indicated that he had reviewed a document, this document rather, the Waiver of Right to Preliminary Hearing with you just recently. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now, in regards to that document, did Mr. Cafferty answer any and all questions you might have had regarding the document?
Yes, sir.
And do you have any questions for me about the document?
No, sir.
Okay. And the boxes are checked on the document answering questions on the document. Are those answers, sir, all true and accurate?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Now, sir, in regards to your preliminary hearing, at this point, are you asking this court to accept the waiver of your preliminary hearing today?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Blake. That'll conclude my questioning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cafferty, any reason why the court should not accept the waiver?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Wiedenfeld?
No.
All right, thank you. Then the court will find that Mr. Blake, the defendant, has freely, voluntarily, knowingly, and with the advice of competent counsel, waived the defendant's right to the preliminary hearing. The waiver is accepted. And the court does find in this case that probable cause exists that a felony was committed, and further probable cause exists to believe that this defendant committed that felony. Therefore, this matter is bound over before the Kenosha County Circuit Court, before the Honorable Bruce E. Schrader presiding. Now, I also have an information which has been filed, so we may move to arraignment. Mr. Cafferty, on behalf of Mr. Blake, have you received a copy of the information?
Yes, I'll acknowledge receipt. I'll waive its reading, and I will enter pleas of not guilty to all 3 charges.
All right, thank you. Not guilty pleas are noted and entered for the record, and the matter shall now be counted for further proceedings before Judge Schrader. And again, the previously imposed bond conditions obviously will remain in full force and effect. Anything further at this point? Otherwise I'll turn it over to Madam Clerk to provide dates, unless you've already received those.
Nothing else from the defense, Judge.
Mr. Wiedenfeld?
Just whether there was a speedy demand for trial?
There has not been at this point, no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A pretrial conference with Judge Schrader, October the 21st at 1:30.
Yes,
Jury selection is November 9th at 9 o'clock.
that works just
Thank
fine.
you.
Thank you. And then as a practical matter, will the court authorize me to collect the bond from the clerk's office and bring it to Mr. Blake to have him sign it and then return it to the court?
We can do it one of 2 ways, and I was just going to talk about that in a second here. Thank you for bringing it up. We can do it electronically. It could be, at this point, it could be emailed, for example, to your office, then download the document and have the document physically signed by Mr. Blake, not electronically signed, and then have it uploaded and transmitted back to the clerk's office, if that works. Otherwise, you could, the way you described as well would work. It's up to you, Mr. Cafferty, which way you wish to do it.
If Janelle will please email that to me, I'll take care of it, Judge.
All right, thank you. That, please have that completed. Well, would you be able to have that completed by, let's say, the 4 p.m. on the 11th?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That concludes this hearing.